Hi, this video is about AI over the next 12 months. What do I expect to see? What seems likely? And I'm shooting this April of 2023, so this would be April 2024 that I would be making these. By this time, this is what I expect to see. So first of all, I expect to see an explosion of narrow AI models. Why is this? Because you can have faster development time. It's less expensive to develop. More data is not necessarily better. Reaching that threshold of data when the model is much more narrow is much easier. Also, in some cases, there's like low error tolerance. So an example, I've given this in a lot of videos, like an AI surgeon. That's almost certainly going to be a specific model, maybe even at first AI models for a specific type of surgery, and then it goes from there. Like for example, gallbladder surgery, or so just for gallbladders, right? And then just for stomach surgeries or whatever. And then maybe like they kind of generalize to different types, to different areas. So maybe the chest area, the stomach area, the ankle, or whatever. Again, these are things that you do not want a little slip up. You don't want to be calling the GPT-4 API and have it get a little bit creative with how it does this. At least with regards to some parts of it. And maybe what you do is there's certain parts of it that are for the narrow model. And then if GPT-4 is like the best general reasoning, if it runs into something that it doesn't understand, it calls to GPT-4 for reasoning, and then the actions it takes are done with the different models. So I'm kind of pointing out another thing here, which is that just because it's a narrow model doesn't mean it works by itself. Sometimes I think you need multiple models and I think Tesla does this, where they have two different models, and if they don't agree, then it doesn't take the action. So they have to agree, and so this kind of points to several different narrow models that approach things from a different angle. I think that, again, I've mentioned medical a lot of times, and I think this is the primary area, the first area where we'll see the most AI development, because there's just the most potential here. And there's just so many things. AI is really good with medical, with testing out different, suggesting different drugs, because there's just literally unlimited, for all practical purposes, there's unlimited amount of like combinations to ways to put the molecules and form them and shape them and do their structure, that it's not really possible for humans to take that job on themselves. And again, this is not an exhaustive list. I think that if I were to spend another 5 minutes, I could probably add another 5. There's just a lot. And then legal, logistics, data analysis, math and physics, software development, all of these things as the price of and the ease of developing a model and setting it up on. NVIDIA has their new AI cloud where you can basically get the same GPU type stuff that OpenAI uses in terms of the processors, and start small. Just like other cloud computing, that's going to really make it a lot easier to do some of this stuff. But there's just, this is a huge prediction. I think that there'll be just way more, and some of them extremely useful and actually pretty well formed to where they're adding a ton of value to society. I think it's pretty likely if it's not out in a year, by April 2024, then it'll be out soon. That's what I would expect. The time it took from GPT-3 to GPT-4. Well, I just looked it up. I thought it was faster than that. It was actually almost 3 years. So more like 2 years and 9 months. So that's quite a bit of time. Some people I've heard say GPT-5. They do seem to be speeding this up. OpenAI. Maybe it's more like late 2024. Maybe even all the way into 2025. It's hard to say, but I do expect that with their success, especially with ChatGPT, that they're going to be able to put more resources in it. They have more funding. That they're going to get more customers, which should speed everything up and just put things on people's radars. So maybe if we're lucky, a year from now we'll have GPT-5. I think it's maybe a coin flip. Maybe it's even less likely that a year from now, but it still is not out of the realm of possibility. And if it's out, it scores better than 99% plus people on like all testing. There's a large context window. I'm calling this mega modal model, not multimodal model, just because maybe it takes on everything. It's hard to kind of fathom how good its logic and reasoning would be, just because it's really, really good right now. I think we're going to run into a lot more, and this is actually maybe a separate point from maybe I should have pulled this out, but it's going to be really hard, almost impossible to tell online if somebody is like a bot or not, unless you've like already met them in person. Even then, they still could be using AI, or it could be not actually that person. So something to think about. Will it be AGI? I would say it's very unlikely not to be AGI, and the reason for that is that I think there's something else that is needed beyond a large language model. Well, let me give you an example. So the large language model doesn't have a memory, really, so to speak. And so there's pieces like that I think will be needed for something to be considered an AGI. But it'll certainly pass a crap load of tests, and maybe that is something that they add in. There's no reason they can't add it in, or maybe with like a certain plugin, or if you connect GPT-5 to another piece of software that gives it the memory that makes sense, then it could actually and gives it autonomy or something. I don't know. I'd say it's unlikely, but it's gonna feel a lot like it, or like it's gonna feel like we're really close. Maybe we'll have Midjourney version 6. They seem to be going this up, going really fast here. So even a year ago they were at 2, and today they're at 5. So maybe we're actually looking at version 6 to 8, something in that range. Maybe 6 to 10. Right now, this is probably the best AI, just kind of general art. Maybe there's some specific models that'll come up for very narrow specifics. This is when I put it into Midjourney. This is one of its outputs when I put in just like Midjourney. And because it's already amazing photorealistic, I think this goes back to kind of the bot or not, which is that there's going to be a reality slippage. Recently, there was that photo that went viral of the Pope in a puffy coat that was fake. Expect a whole lot more of that. I mean, it's going to be really, really, it's kind of crazy because it's super, super good right now. It's hard to kind of fathom how good it will be right now. I wonder about like companies or people that are dependent on stock photos for their income. I feel bad for them because I just don't know why I would buy stock photos if I can make as many as I want very easily. Not that I was buying stock photos in the first place. But some people do, certainly. And really, there's just going to be like a billion new AI tools. There's just going to be so many people. So when ChatGPT came out, it put it on a lot of people's radars. It really said, "Oh my God, we're here." And while ChatGPT was not perfect, it was still amazing. And GPT-4 is kind of nuts. And they're also OpenAI is not just releasing like that, but like GPT-4, but the Whisper, it's going to get better. Their Dolly is going to get better. Whisper, I think right now is just text to, I can't remember if it's audio to text or text to audio, but it only goes one way. I think they'll go 2 ways. And people, don't quote me on that. But also people using OpenAI's AI API, connecting into their software to create all sorts of different awesome tools that are GPT-4 powered. That is really awesome. A lot of what's going on right now is people just kind of doing the same thing in different places. And I don't think that's and sometimes it's useful, but in general, it's not very useful. So they're just like, ChatGPT in the web browser. Woohoo. Okay. So I don't have to like go over here. I just go over here. That's not really adding a lot of value. But I expect that there'll be some people who do a little bit more creative things. Hopefully that's me. That creates a lot of value and actual uniqueness from these unique things that come up. There'll be new large language models, new companies that try to compete with GPT-4, but also, as I pointed out before, large language model maybe for doctors or something. There's all sorts of different, for specific large language models. I expect a lot of these. new text to image. Maybe we could just say text to video, because right now there is a little bit of this, but it's pretty bad. I expect that this will actually be very different and much better a year from now. Audio, we already do this pretty well, but with the voice cloning, it's not quite perfect. It's really, really close. Maybe the voice cloning will perfect voice cloning. That's kind of crazy. So I'm going to italicize again. This is part of the reality slippage, which is that it's going to be really hard to tell. I mean, you could have a deep fake of a politician saying something that looks and sounds exactly like that person, and but it's not real. This is going to happen, and this is probably one of the biggest downsides of AI in general. If you look at the effects of social media on things, social media did some really nice things for society, but in general, there's a really dark side, which is that it allows for spreading of misinformation much easier than before. When internet first came out, everybody gets the information. It's democratizing the information. Well, and to some degree that happened. We had like the Arab Spring, which was nice, but when bad actors figured out how to manipulate the people, they hit that stuff hard, and there's a lot of that going on right now. And unfortunately, it's going to get worse before it gets better, probably. Hopefully somebody can come up with tools to fight these reality slippage, to be able to identify voice cloning or fake or AI generated photos via AI. So it's going to be AI protecting us against AI. It's definitely going to happen. Or at least people should try that and will try that. And I expect that there'll be some amount of success for some things. Maybe some things it's not so easy to do that. You'll also have integrated versus patched old tools. So a lot of old tools that you're familiar with will try to integrate AI into them. And by integrate, I mean actually kind of mix in with the whole feature set and deep inside the software or whatever product it is, versus like just patching it on. I do see a lot of just patching it on. Oh, get ChatGPT in our thing, or it'll write an email for you. I don't find that to be very useful, and I expect a lot of that to continue to go on. So a lot of tools they'll just do that, and that's it. They'll leave it at that, and they'll be like, we're AI powered, when it's really not. It's just kind of like adding a patch onto something old. What are the odds of AGI? So first of all, we have to really, this is a fuzzy definition. Different people, you can ask 10 different people and they give 10 slightly different answers. My thought on this would be kind of an autonomous, I think somebody else called it, David Shapiro called it an ACE, autonomous cognitive entity. I think this is a pretty good definition, a little bit more clear than I think artificial general intelligence. So this is an entity that is autonomous and intelligent and can act like it's not necessarily that it is a sentient being, but it can act like a sentient being. And that, one of the things that I mentioned before that GPT-4, GPT-5 don't have, or at least that I'm aware of, is a long-term memory, to where they and then also sort of like a long-term context. Maybe they do have a little bit of a long-term context because they're trained on so much data, but they don't have a long-term memory in terms of like what they've actually experienced, which is, I think, pretty critical to creating the ACE. And there's several other pieces to this puzzle, I think. So my odds would be low-ish. It's not zero. And then also, I think maybe if we get like a really fast GPT-5 or maybe a GPT 4.5, plus somebody else plugs it into some of the other pieces. Maybe they plug it into, maybe there's like a GPT, let's say GPT 4.5 plus X plus Y. So there's two more pieces. Somebody else takes the GPT 4.5 API, plugs it in, and actually creates something that could be considered an ACE. This is very possible. So, or maybe it's GPT, maybe it's OpenAI that does this. So let me know what you think. Let me know what you think will happen over the next year. Please leave a comment. Like if you like this, subscribe if you want some more like this. Thank you very much and have a great day. Bye.